Their structures are always placed on ley lines to control the energy in the area. In order for many regions to be free, some building must be removed from the ley lines. They are binding the energy of freedom and suppressing clear thought. In history, when structures bind the ley lines for too long, cataclysms occur to shake everything off of them. 19 PAGE. Reason 11. The 2012 Olympics logo says Zion. Even more diabolical is the final Olympian ritual will return home to London on the ley lines of their old monoliths. The Greek Olympians Hester, Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Ares, Demeter, Hermes, Poseidon, Athena, Zeus, Artemis, and Apollo were their chief gods, most of them bloodthirsty titans, giants, Nephilim. Not many will see this all coming, only a few will escape. Disbelievers block their own way. We sent men, women, and even the pure ones to them to persuade them that there were multiple heavens, and they were caught up in the lower dimensions, deceived by the stars. They were, and they would not listen. They would not forsake the partners they had subscribed with the Most High, imagining them to be in favor of their growth. In spite, the gods gave them little and blocked the path of ascension. Thus there was a silence of man and woman's great deeds in the heavens, and there was little to harvest. Truly the people were not guided, trading paper for life. Then the veil began to lift, and once again man and woman recognized each other as the only source of harmony. We were all together then, man and woman, shaping and forming a new world. Truly our work is not in vain, and just as the trees, we are numerous and patient, as we provide man and women their substance, just as we all must live. We are currently positioned in a place Kabbalistically known as Markuth, which means foundation. This is why the gods often say the earth is their footstool. Indeed, some of the spirit energies are so large it is true that earth could be in fact used as a footstool by them. Markuth consists of various life forms with limited senses, thus they are vibrating at a lower frequency in order to form something as solid as a foundation. To make this easier to understand, a rock is actually in motion, although it is vibrating so slow it is heavy, hard, and what appears to be unmovable, although it is just moving so slow you do not have the time to see its movement. The more senses we lose, we become more like a rock, which means our emotional movement and idea of things lessen as we descend. This is also the secret to why gargoyles, the Sumerian stone cherubs, the Sphinx, and various other stone figures that have survived from antiquity are all known, 20 PAGE, to be in fact alive and resonating a certain type of energy. Lower life forms are also on a low vibration like rocks, thus they at times inhabit stones. These figures are kept around for protection against other entities by magicians. 21 PAGE. Reason 12. Pictured above are statues that have been passed from magician to magician, as you see here. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series, in possession of the same gargoyle John Dee, a well-known magician, used to keep in his possession. The spirit lives within the stone. The strength of stone is obvious by its durability. An adept is familiar with all types of stones and the elemental gnomes who have wisdom of earth and fashioning things out of earth. Here are just a few buildings that are positioned on major ley lines. Ley lines have been known since ancient times, discovered by dowsing and also witnessing how things grow in certain areas. A spiraling tree is often on a ley line. Below you see the earth grid of major ley lines, which you will find structures built upon. The smaller ley lines are generally not mapped in such detail. There were also those who just signed up for the pantheism. Since the ladder is ascending and descending, they naturally gravitated towards the negative. The lower dimensional beings, which also make up the foundation we stand on, had its way with them while their channel was open, and they spoke whatever message that would bring more energy and treasure to their coffers. They were led by distortion. Man and woman involved themselves with beings that possessed and incarnated into their human bodies. Some of these beings either never had a vocal box or are no longer in possession of 22 PAGE. One nor a corporeal body to operate on the third physical plane. Numerous they are, and they could not be counted, as if opening a sealed vault of misshaped things that spawn amongst themselves in what would seem like an instant. Pandora's box, tricks of the god Pain, lord of panic and pandemic. Those who were more interested in the fast route, imagining that spiritual work was a road to riches, would inherit the curse of Amun-Amun, one of the first names given to planet Jupiter, and is in fact a very active Egyptian god. Jupiter is one of the largest planets in this system. From here we will refer to Jupiter or Amun as Amun so we can keep track of this being. Even the Bible scripture gives a clue when it says thou canst serve both God and Mammon. Unfortunately, it didn't leave more detailed information. The Amun-Amun is where the Am in America comes from and is the great I Am. You will find an advanced intelligent amphibian called Ons, the fish god, amongst them, along with its offspring such as Dagon. They crossed into our world a long time ago under the Sumerian name Each, pronounced Ea, Lord and King of the SA. One of the greatest questions that will ultimately come to mind is, are the actual planets themselves doing this, or are these malevolent beings with various powers who have fooled man into believing they are the planets? To answer that, we will have to consider a few things. The planets themselves are in a fixed movement, everything interacting together. I personally know there are many more planets in our immediate system that most know nothing of, such as Vulcan. The heaviest spiritual involvement from these satellites seems to come from the asteroids like Venus and Ceres, along with what we call meteorites, falling stars, and comets, that seem to cause many of the problems. There are also hollowed artificial satellites such as our moon Sin and Phobos, which are bases of some sort. Think of this also. The Bible is supposed to be a holy book, and in the end you find a passage that says something like, woe to the one who adds or takes away from what is written in this book. We will add to him the plagues of this book and take away his name from the book of life. There is obviously a faction that cares nothing of this warning, because every time a new edition of the Bible comes out, there are serious changes. People need to start seeing that the ones who are changing it care nothing for the curses, because there are none, and the book itself has stories borrowed from everywhere. Such was the way of these people. The negative forces are infamous for lying. If a being says I am Amun, I am Jupiter, the planet you know as the biggest, I find this no different from a man who says I am the son of the sun, and because of that I have leave to destroy everything in my path. Man has been notorious for blindly following these possessed, deluded traitors who are blurred by their own desire to iconoclast themselves in the mold of time and usurp the throne of the Great One, which is unreachable and immeasurable. Surely a man can charge into battle with great strength, imagining he will vanquish his foes, and then the next thing, he awakes in evil Elysium Johanan for such foolish thoughts. Everything material will pass away at some point, thus it is only wise to seek immortality with everything at your disposal, letting nothing impede your way. Around you at all times are those who, 23page, will never see what's coming. They do not desire it nor believe it, thus they have shut the door on themselves and they are wandering in the dark. Protect yourself from becoming enveloped in their aura of deluded drunkenness, where every day for them is the same as the last and they see it not. The time draws nigh. What a waste. The judgment itself is taking place now. We are in 2012 at this moment because of the delay of the Gregorian calendar. Many have knowingly forfeited their chance to ascend, and thus they are like crabs in the bucket, pulling everyone else they can around them into the same prison they created for themselves. Beware of those who you know are involved in some form of dark occult practice. It is now time for the unseen hand or Dark Lord to exact recompense from them. They are now being used to betray even those they were the closest to. Many of them did not expect this time to come and were lied to. They imagined the ritual a game, a mere fraternity hazing. Now they have phantoms as their companions that fill their dreams with absurd visions. There is no rest for the wicked. A sorceress had done all the bidding for the Dark Lord and took pride in it. The Dark Lord promised her he would award her deeds in the underworld. With this promise she worked more vigorously, causing division and setting traps for those who found themselves in her web. On her untimely death she was transferred to the underworld, where the negative forces seized her and commenced torturing her, pulling her soul apart. She cursed them profusely and demanded to speak with the ruler of dominions, who was watching from afar. When approaching she said, I have done everything you have required of me and even more. I have sown discord with the peaceful, and separated many from love.